All right. So if the tangent of x equals negative 2/5 in quadrant 2, what's the easiest one to find after that? Cotangent of x is negative 5/2. Okay. What shares a Pythagorean identity with tangent? Secant. Secant squared of x equals tangent squared of x plus 1, correct? So secant squared of x equals negative 2/5 squared plus 1. What's negative 2/5 squared? 4/25. 1 is 25/25. So secant squared of x equals 29/25. What do we do to each side? Square root. So secant of x equals square root of 29/5. Now, if we're in quadrant 2, is secant positive or negative? Secant is the reciprocal of what? Cosine. What is cosine in quadrant 2? Shanty says it's negative. Do you trust Shanty? I sure would. It is negative. So secant is negative square root of 29/5. Make sure you know which is positive and negative. Okay? They're all three positive in quadrant 1. Cosine is negative, sine is positive, tangent is negative in quadrant 2. Cosine is negative, sine is negative, tangent is positive in quadrant 3. Cosine is positive, sine is negative, tangent is negative in quadrant 4. Know those. Okay? Know those. All right. So if I know secant, then I know cosine. Cosine would be 5 over square root of 29. But can we leave square root of 29 on the bottom? No. So we multiply top and bottom by square root of 29. So this is negative 5 square root of 29/29. All right. Now, since that's so dang complicated, I don't want to use a Pythagorean identity with cosine to find sine. So what else could I use a Pythagorean identity to find something? What's my other Pythagorean identity besides sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1 and c squared equals tangent squared plus 1? What's my other one? Cosecant squared x equals cotangent squared of x plus 1. So cosecant squared of x equals negative 5 halves squared plus 1. What's negative 5 halves squared? Very good, Emmett. So cosecant squared of x equals 29/4. What do we do to each side? Square root. Cosecant of x equals square root of 29/2. Positive or negative? Positive, because it's a reciprocal sign. So what would the sine of x be? It would be 2 over square root of 29, correct? Multiply top and bottom by square root of 29. So it's 2 square root of 29/29. Did that match your answers? I hope it did for some of you. Otherwise, we might be in a little worried state for Thursday. Think you can do this on Thursday? We might have to practice with a few more of these like this before Thursday, huh? All right, this one. What's the cosine of x equal to? Cosine of x. What's the cosine of negative x equal to? Cosine of x. Not negative cosine of x, it's the cosine of x. What's cosine of x minus cosine of x? 0. What some of your grades will be if you don't wise up in here. All right. What's the sine of x equal to? Negative sine of x. What's the cosine of negative x equal to? Cosine of x. What's the cosecant of negative x equal to? Negative cosecant of x. What's negative cosecant of x equal to? 1 over sine of x. And it's negative. So if I multiply negative sine of x times negative 1 over sine of x, what do I get? They cancel, right? And the negatives cancel, so you're just left with cosine of x. Okay, something that you can do. You guys can all FOIL. What's 3 sine of x times 2 sine of x? 6 sine squared of x. What are my outers? Minus 15 sine of x. What are my inners? What's my last? So it's 6 sine squared of x minus 13 sine of x minus 5. Any problems with that? When a binomial squared, you should write it twice and FOIL. Write it twice and FOIL. 2 times 2 is 4 cosine squared of x. Outers, minus 14 cosine of x. Inners, minus 14 cosine of x. Last, so it's 4 cosine squared of x minus 28 cosine squared of x plus 49. No. Who said squared? Do you see a squared up there? All right. Yeah, my bad. I get in a rhythm and don't think every once in a while. Uh-oh. We have a first term coefficient on this factoring problem. What should we do? Multiply a times c. No, you don't have to cry yet. Negative 6. So, what are factors of negative 6? 1 and 6, 2 and 3. The signs are the same or opposite? Opposite. The bigger one is negative. Which of these adds up to negative 5? 1, negative 6. So you write the coefficient of this, 2 cosine of x plus 1 times 2 cosine of x minus 6. Divide by the greatest common factor. What's the greatest common factor of this? 1. What's the greatest common factor of this? 2. So it's 2 cosine of x plus 1 and cosine of x minus 3. Okay. What type of factoring do we do here? It has a D in it. Difference of squares. 2 sine of x and 2 sine of x plus and minus 3 cosine of x, 3 cosine of x. Continuing to factor, No first term coefficient, so we can just put down 2 sets of parentheses. What's the square root of cosine squared? Cosine of x. Sines are the same. They are both negative. What are factors of 8 that add up to negative 6? Okay. First term coefficient, last term coefficient, but they both have square roots. So it's perfect square trinomial. What's the square root of 9 cosine squared? 3 cosine of x. Then you use the sine of the middle term minus what's the square root of 4? 2. So if you take 2 times this, you should get the middle. 2 times 3 cosine of x is 6 cosine of x times the negative 2 is negative 12 cosine of x. So it checks. And then we have identities. What's the first thing we do on this identity? Change tangent into sine of x over cosine of x times cosine of x. What do we change cosecant into? 1 over sine of x times sine squared of x equals 2 sine of x. And if you don't write the equals 2 sine of x, I'll take a point off. And if this is worth, let's say this problem's worth 5 points. I take a point off here, a point off here, a point off here, just for not writing it on each step. Yeah, you lose lots of points that you could have easily because you're too lazy to write something down. Any canceling I can do? Cosines cancel, because this is multiplication here. Sines cancel. So I get sine of x plus sine of x equals 2 sine of x. What's sine of x plus sine of x? 2 sine of x equals 2 sine of x. Okay. What's cosecant of x the same as? 1 over sine of x plus 1 over 1 over sine of x minus 1 equals 1 plus sine of x over 1 minus sine of x. Now, when I have a complex fraction, I multiply by the denominator of the denominator. So I'll multiply this by sine of x over 1, this by sine of x over 1, this by sine of x over 1, this by sine of x over 1. Basically, I'm distributing, but I'm just writing it all out. So these sines of x cancel to be 1. Sine of x over 1 times sine of x is sine of x. These sines of x cancel to be 1. Sine of x over 1 times 1 is sine of x. Oh my goodness, that was basically a two-step problem. But if you don't show your multiplication, if you just go from here straight to here, I might take a point off. I want to see what is going on, what you are doing in the problem. Okay, so show me that. All right, cosecant we just said was 1 over sine of x over 1 over sine of x minus sine of x, which is sine of x over 1, basically, equals secant squared of x. All right, we got a complex fraction here, so we multiply by the denominator of the denominator, which is sine of x over 1. So my numerator, the signs cancel to get 1. My denominator, these signs cancel, we get 1 minus these signs times each other is sine squared of x. We good there? What's 1 minus sine squared? Cosine squared. What's 1 over cosine squared equal to? There we are. Okay. Last one. Tangent is what? Sine of x over cosine of x. Secant is? So basically, I have negative 1 over sine of x minus 1 over cosine of x. Are you good with that? The way I did that. I just added my fraction on the bottom to make it one fraction. Do we have a complex fraction? Yeah. So I multiply by the denominator of the denominator. So I'm going to multiply by cosine of x basically over 1. Cosines cancel. So I get negative cosine of x over sine of x minus 1 equals 1 plus sine of x over cosine of x. Okay. So I have sine of x minus 1 in the denominator. I have 1 plus sine of x in my was where I want to get to. Okay? Sine of x minus 1 and sine of x plus 1 are what of each other? What's the magic math word? Conjugates. They are conjugates of each other. So we multiply by sine of x plus 1 on the top and bottom. Do not distribute your cosine of x through. Just leave it the way it is. So it's negative cosine of x times sine of x plus 1 over sine squared of x minus 1. Because when you multiply conjugates together, your outers and your inners always cancel. What's sine squared of x minus 1 equal to? No, it is not equal to cosine squared of x. What is sine squared of x minus 1 equal to? Negative cosine squared of x. A negative over a negative is a positive. One of these cosines cancel with one of these cosines. Sine of x plus 1 is the same as 1 plus sine of x. I have a cosine of x left in the bottom. Bada bing, bada boom. That's the review. Now, I think maybe some of you should practice another one of these. So I will write one down for you. And then after lunch, you guys can do it for a couple minutes and see if you get the right answer. Let's say we have the cosecant of x equals negative 9/5 in quadrant number 4. Cosecant of x equals negative 9/5 in quadrant 4. What is the sine of x? The cosine of x? The tangent of x? The secant of x? And the cotangent of x. All right, so I'm going to leave that on the board for you to ponder. And then we get out at first bell. I really don't have anything after lunch. Now, those of you who are going to be gone Thursday, who's gone Thursday? I will have your quizzes ready for you. You can take them after lunch here. No. Thursday, if you have a track on Thursday, don't plan on it happening, so you'll be here Thursday. There's no way they're going to have that, so you'll be here Thursday, right? Yeah. So, for track, plan on it being canceled on Thursday, so you'll be here. But if you have a family vacation for Easter, then you'll be gone Thursday, so then take your quiz after lunch. Sure.
The middle school meeting got canceled. You think ours will get canceled?
Oh, they did cancel the middle school one? Okay.
Would the following students please come to the office before leaving for lunch today? Eleni Sims, Cody Klein, Peyton Wolf, Mikhail Doerr, Trey Smith, Aspen Dahl, Riley Karen, Isaac Henry, Jess Engler, Fiona Donnellan, Olivia Fleming, Raina Rost, Abby Palmquist, and Mallory Schultz. Please come to the office before leaving for lunch today. Thank you.
We are first bell.